We are going to be walking through how to level a 3D printer. This is a Creality Ender 3, and we'll get started. So the very first step here is to preheat your bed to 60 degrees C, and the reason is because of thermal expansion. So you want to make sure that the bed will be the same temperature that you calibrated at when you're actually doing your prints. So in my case, I'm just going to hit this button, and then we're going to go to temperature, and I'm going to set our bed to 60. Like that. And then if we return back to home, we should see that our bed temperature has a new set point of 60 degrees, so it's heating up right now. Now that we've done that, the next step we're going to do is we're going to again press this to go into the menu. We're going to go to motion, and we're going to go to auto home, and this is just to bring everything to the 0 values across the X, the Y, and the Z. Okay. And so right now, if you look, you can see that there is a gap between the nozzle and the top of the bed, and that's a lot more than we want. What you want to shoot for is basically like the thickness of a piece of paper. So if you just cut a piece of paper you have, what we're going to do is move this thing around, and we're going to be adjusting these dials on all 4 corners to get this bed so that it's perfectly flat with respect to the other axes. So to do that, if you press motor off right here, what that does is it disables the stepper motors, so you can then move these things. So I can now move my y-axis, x-axis, and then also z-axis if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave that at the 0 right now because that's the whole point of homing it. What you do is you're going to take your piece of paper, and you see again that gap right there is too big. So I'm going to slide this piece of paper underneath it. And if you look at these dials, they try to tell it to you by rotating this thing clockwise when you are looking at it from the top. What that is doing is it is effectively raising that corner of the bed. So in this case, because I'm seeing that gap, I'm going to rotate this guy clockwise. And this thing moves pretty slowly, so like you're not going to necessarily see when that happens. But like you can see right now, I'm trying to pull this thing out, and it's not happening because it's on too hard. So I was raising this up too much, so now I'm going to have to rotate this the other way, which is going to be counterclockwise when you're staring at it from the top. And basically you keep on adjusting it counterclockwise until you're able to just barely slide or pull the paper through it. Okay, so see how that's a lot easier to do? This is exactly what feeler gauges are for, by the way. But getting it dialed in right about where I want it. I'm gonna do a little bit more. So right there is when the paper gets to be not wanting to come out. So counterclockwise. Okay, so right there, I'm able to slide this paper in without too much resistance. So we just did that corner, and when I first bought this machine and was setting it up, the problem was that even when I adjusted this as far clockwise as I could, the bed still wasn't high enough for the nozzle, so I wasn't able to get the bed up enough. And so if you're running into that problem, what you have to do is you have to basically continue to like lift up this corner, then lift up that corner, then lift up that corner, then lift up that corner, and then you can lift this one up a little bit more, if that makes sense. So basically just cycle around all of these things until you get it right. But that was, in our case, the bottom left corner. So now what I do is I take my paper, we're just going to stick it right there, and then we're going to slide this guy over. And you know, before we get started with this, you can just see that like that gap is also too much. So we take that paper, stick it in there, and again, see how freely that slides through, so that's not what you want. So we're gonna, again, adjust this knot dial, and because we want this edge to be a little bit higher, what that means is we're going to rotate this clockwise. So just like that, I'm just gonna keep spinning it, and then like check it every once in a while. So now you can see that it's not coming out anymore, so I gotta back it off a little bit. So somewhere in there it's happy. So there, I'm getting some more resistance right there. But that's how you do it. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other two corners. So to do that, you just pull this paper out. And again, our bed is at 60 degrees while we're doing this. So you just kind of wanna do it a little bit quickly. And just pull the bed out by hand. And you can see that the paper is sliding through super easily. Sorry, you're not gonna necessarily be able to see this too well, but I'm rotating that. Still getting a lot, so we're gonna again continue spinning that clockwise. Now it's not coming out anymore, so we're going to back off that wheel on the other side a tad. Still not enough. Okay, so I'm just checking underneath it. Slides too easily. Okay, so I'm liking that corner now more. Alright, and then finally we're going to do this guy. And you can see that too easily. So, clockwise. It's a little bit too much, so we're going to back that off counterclockwise. Okay. Still a little too easy. Now it's a little too hard. So yeah, so now I've got what I like on that corner also. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to again come back to this top corner that we started with and just double check that I'm still happy with how I'm able to get this corner underneath. And right now it is struggling, so that means I'm not able to get that through. So this guy is going to go counterclockwise a little bit. Okay. Okay. We'll move now to this other corner here. Again, on this guy, I'm not able to get this paper underneath it. Actually, I just barely am. It's a little bit too much resistance for my liking, so what I'm going to do is just a teeny tiny bit back it off. Call that good. Pull the bed forward. I'm gonna take this dial and reverse it just a little bit. Okay, happy with that. And then finally we'll come back to this guy. Okay, it's probably a little bit too much again, so we're gonna back that off. There you go. All right, and if you really wanted to do this all day, you can, but for the sake of getting pretty close and pretty good, that's how you do it. So I hope this is helpful stuff, and thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and be well.